Hello, World Civilization 106 class. Welcome to week 7. We are moving along quite quickly. We just had Father's Day. I hope that all of you were able to have an enjoyable holiday. I realize, just to quickly say, I have many friends who never knew their fathers, have some very serious issues with their fathers. Some of them have lost their fathers already. And so a day like, a Father's Day, that kind of holiday, it can be very rewarding and create a lot of family solidarity when, when there's been a happy, healthy family environment and, everything's still okay. But can also really just drain a lot of you to really cause a lot of a conflict of emotions, to say the least. So I just want to acknowledge that. And so many of you were busy yesterday, maybe doing Father Day activities or processing a lot of things emotionally. And so if that's the case and you weren't able to get your work in, or you don't like the quality of your work, please contact me. You don't have to explain a lot. You don't need to. I'll always listen to what anybody, if any of you want to tell me a personal story, but it's not required for me to be able to allow that for you. Okay. So I just want to acknowledge that. And in any case, I hope that you're all doing well right now, as best as you can. So having said that, there's a few things I want to say. If things go according to plan, and we're not always sure if things go according to plan, I might be extra busy this week, especially starting Wednesday to Sunday. So if you end up needing to contact me with anything, and you have, especially if you need some information immediately, please just text me. And then I will respond to you, because I'm not going to be having, I will not have my computer around, but I am still going to be there for you and engaged with you if you want to contact me. Just the phone is going to be the only way to be able to do it. Just from Wednesday to Sunday. Sunday evening, I'll be back on the computer. And also, just to clarify, I'm just debating, so I'll let you know. I might open up the next week extra early, like open it on Wednesday, or open it up a little bit later. So I'm kind of leaning on the possibility of opening up next week's work on Wednesday before I leave, just to make sure that if anything happens, any setbacks, that you guys all of you will be able to have access to that work. And so you won't need to worry about getting it. It doesn't mean that it's due right away. I'm just going to be opening it up. So as long as you're listening to the announcement like you're supposed to, you'll understand this, and you don't need to worry about anything. Some of you might even like having the work open up early. Okay, so anyhow, so keep an eye out on that. On Wednesday, I'll communicate with one more announcement. I might even just send a post one up. Now we are shifting gears from the Far East back into Iran, which is placed, if you look geographically, like Russia, it's kind of a nation in the crossroads of many different parts of the East. And we're looking at ancient Persia. Very important, very significant history. This is the history of the country that is now known as Iran, or Iran, as many of you say. I'm hoping you find this to be very eye-opening and give you a new understanding of respect and being able to understand the variation between, let's say, Iraq and Iran, right? Very different cultures, even though there is a cultural exchange. So this is kind of like how Asia is, right? We see that Vietnam, Cambodia, China, and Japan, and Korea, and I can name off Thailand, and I can go after all. I can start talking about all the different Asian and Southeast Asian nations. They have a tremendous influence on each other, but they're very distinct, and you're starting to see that, right? Just like Europeans. Do Polish people see themselves the same as an Irish person does? They have actually very different histories. Maybe Italian and Finnish might be even more different, but yet all Europeans have some sort of cultural tie. I mean, religion, and all of that. So I just want to. Hopefully now you're starting to not see that everybody, they all look alike. Well, who are you're seeing the distinctness of each culture that usually maybe you just kind of blended all together when it comes to, for instance, Middle Eastern nations. Now, we're not getting into Islam yet, and we're going to talk about a religion this week that most of you will not have heard of, and it's Zoroastrianism. I want you to keep in mind that when it comes to the actual origins and going back further, it gets a lot more murky in terms of the origins than maybe some other religions. So even the video that I'm having you watch that kind of covers something on Zoroastrianism, when it comes to them placing the origin of Zoroaster, it's a much more, I think there's a lot more scholarly debate than the way that it comes off. And I've been discovering that over the years that it's a little bit more murky at this time. But again, it's a tremendously important, influential religion that still exists. I actually have a friend that is born and raised Zoroastrian. And her mother, when I was able to teach in the face-to-face classroom setting, her mom was able to come and talk to the class and talk about being Zoroastrian and what it means to her to follow this religion that goes back to ancient Persia. And so, and you're also going to find out some important, a very important rock musician grew up Zoroastrian, which might surprise you and you might find of interest too. So that'll be here covered. Now, I put in some scriptures in the reading that you can think about in context to the debate. So you'll see there's no paper this week, but we're going to cover a scholarly debate on the actual influence of Zoroastrianism upon Judaism and Christianity or not. And it's not an easy set of readings, but I hope that you all realize that what I'm looking for on the discussions is that you are doing your best to comprehend the material that you're reading and then make a case for what needs to be discussed. This is exposing you to real university setting type of situation where you have to read scholarly texts and they don't always agree. Kind of like when you're exposed to the debate about Ashoka, whether or not Ashoka really was this peace-loving, tolerant leader as he's been commonly depicted compared to this alternative reading of Ashoka's legacy, right? So here we're going to see different scholars debating about the relevance of Zoroaster on the influence of Judaism and Christianity, and that would be by implication also on Islam in some ways. Now, anyhow, the verses that I picked, the scriptures, you will find interesting because it talks about the God of this world, and it sounds as if Satan is referred to as the God. That is traditionally how it's been understood, although there's some debates about that because it doesn't say Satan, but it implies that God maybe does something negative. Now, I will say this, in Judaism and Islam, you'll see that God does take responsibility for everything that's good and bad, and it would be less controversial to actually say that that's actually God himself there, as opposed to actually saying that you could even call Satan a god or the god of the age. But that's how it's traditionally understood. And then you have these other kind of strange verses, strange outlier verses that you don't hear often, where Jesus even refers to, and the book of Psalms, to the judges being referred to as gods. And we know that Judaism is strictly monotheistic, Christianity is supposed to be monotheistic, and Islam. But again, do we see this henotheism there? And of course, you're going to learn about henotheism. It's interesting. I want you to at least just be engaged in it. There's no really agenda behind what I'm trying to show other than that, let's look at the texts themselves, look at the scholarship, and see what is going on and work with that. Now, last thing that I'm going to say, we are going to cover Judaism, which is a development beyond ancient Israel, much more thoroughly in the future. We are going to cover Christianity very thoroughly, even the creation of the Bible canon, as best as we can in this class. And we will cover Islam. So part of what you're learning here, keep in mind that we will talk more later in regards to Christianity and Islam and Judaism, and then you can think about what's kind of been talked about here, and we can see if it seems relevant or not the more that we're learning. So that's all. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. I hope you're all taking good care of yourselves. And as I always say, if you need anything, let's be in touch.